If it feels like it's harder to close deals in 2025, you're not alone. Let's talk about why and what to do about it. Let's dive right in. The first thing that we have to talk about is shifting ARVs, or after repair values. I talked about this back when rates went from 2% up to 5, 6, and 7, was that the 2% like COVID comp properties were really no longer comparable. What somebody's willing to pay when rates are at 2% is very different than what somebody's willing to pay for a property when rates are at 6 and 7. Similarly, what folks were willing to pay for a property when rates were at 6 and 7, it had only been there for a little bit, and they thought they're going to be able to refinance real quick, is different than what properties are selling for in 2025. I personally know of investors that have taken almost six-figure haircuts on projects that should have sold based off of comps for, well, $100,000 more than what they did. If you're actively flipping properties right now, we can't just look at comps. We also have to look at what's active. What's the competition look like when we're going to be bringing this property to market? And what are those properties priced at? I've personally seen instances where it's like, hey, comps are 300, but as I'm looking at what's active on the market, I'm like, wait, but stuff isn't selling in the 250s and 260s. So is it really still 300? In the past, we used to say, yeah, go back up to 6 months in time. Personally, I'm looking at real-time data. What's active? What's contingent? How fast did it pend, right? Even what do the stats look like on Zillow? How many views and saves did that property get? Was there a lot of demand for that property or not much? Are the active listings getting price cuts, or are they selling for list? In a nutshell, pinning down what a property is actually going to sell for post-remodel has gotten a little trickier. The second thing that we need to address is we've got higher rates, we've got tariffs, and we've got a lot of families, the folks that are going to ultimately be buying the projects when we're done with them or leasing the projects, that are struggling with liquidity due to inflation and all of the other factors. I don't know that the average tenant in America right now is super comfortable putting down a security deposit, first month's rent, and last month's rent. That might be harder for you to lease a property than it was back when they were giving out stimulus checks. We've seen with buyers that they're getting more and more picky when it comes to the inspection. It's almost like they want a perfect home, but a perfect home doesn't really exist. I've seen some atrocious new builds even that have passed inspections. Fact of the matter is, houses are built using organic materials by imperfect human beings. In my experience, the perfect house doesn't exist. Every house I've ever bought or sold had items that needed to be addressed. If you inspect a house and you find nothing, your inspector probably sucks. So due to that tightening, what we're seeing is buyers are more likely to pull out or terminate a deal at the first sign of imperfection, which makes sense if you think about it. If my liquidity is tighter, I can't afford to have stuff go wrong with this place. And I really want to make sure I'm doing something that's wise for my family. And if they're watching the news, they're probably seeing a lot of oh, the real estate market's not great. So that pool of people that are willing to buy an imperfect house with elevated rates is just smaller. When it comes to sellers, we're also seeing a lot of well, hey, I'd like to sell, but where do I go? The last gentleman whose house I bought sold to us because he had a lot of major mechanical systems that were nearing the end of their life. He had a ton of equity and not a ton of cash, and decided he'd actually rather move into a rental property. But there was this whole time period of hey man, I've got to figure out where to put my stuff and where we ultimately want to go. All of that means as buyers, our offers, unless we want to lose money, need to be more conservative, meaning we're probably going to win fewer deals. Our closing percentage is likely to take a little bit of a hit. I'm running a totally free training on how to get folks to reach out to you directly, asking you for offers on their property. It's going to be on May 29th at 2 p.m. EST. I'd love to see you there. Throw up a QR code and a link to it down in the comments as well. The third problem that we're seeing is the conversion cycle has gotten longer. Because of all of these factors, folks are in almost this analysis paralysis thing, and they're not quite sure that they want to make any decision or movement or changes at all. One of my last leads took something like 35 or 40 follow-up phone calls to sign the contract after he had already said, yes, I agree to those terms. That sounds great. When I asked him about it, he was literally like, yeah, man, I've just kind of like been in a funk with everything that's going on and just, I probably should go ahead and do this. So we've got folks nervous to make a move, and we're competing with folks that are dreamers, meaning they're willing to pay a price where they end up losing money on that project. One of the things I do when I lose out on a deal, I track it and I see who bought it. And one of the things we'll look at is, were we wrong anywhere? More often than not, what we'll see is they paid more for the property than what we would have paid, and it sold for at or below what we thought it would sell for, meaning most likely they lost money. Sometimes the real fact of the matter is the best deal you do is the one that you don't buy. I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with me. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Again, my name is Ryan Dossey. Talk to you next time.